Dave, welcome to the Sports Editor. Very grateful to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate chatting to a rugby legend. Your record speaks for itself, so very, very humbled. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
Dave, we're going to start with the first one, which I think is very interesting. Argentina beating New Zealand. Wow, what a result. Was it just a case where Argentina were just psychologically, mentally ready for this more than New Zealand were, and just obviously wanted to win more than New Zealand?
Look, it's interesting because, Argentina have had no games at all played at all this year. It's a bit like South Africa. I did watch the white versus the green or gold trial game. And I believe there's more being played. But Argentinians were at home training by themselves. I think a couple of them had corona. There was big problems in Argentina. I really think that the All Blacks, and I said a couple of weeks ago, I think they've lost their aura a bit. They haven't seemed to have the same characters. When the pressure's on, they calm down and off they go. They panicked a lot. Foster, under a lot of pressure, I believe that Scott Robinson, who's a Crusaders coach, went for an interview, didn't get the job. And I think that there's a lot of circumstances there. I don't know if you've ever read the book Legacy.
No.
Okay, it's about the All Blacks, the history of the All Blacks. You had, I'm not saying, it's just different from when I used to play, and I know that's a long time ago, but the All Blacks had players very respectful. They didn't do anything stupid, they'd obviously punch and kick like everyone else in the world, but when you're going for a try, you don't go and put the ball down one hand, drop the ball, which happened in Wellington, and I only had blonde hair that day. Turns up 2 weeks later at the Bledisloe in Sydney, had dark hair, scores a try. The week after, he's back to blonde hair again. But in the old days, you never saw that. Yes, I know the game's changed. I understand that. But tradition's tradition.
Yes.
You can't change some things in life. And I just think you saw that game last week. There wasn't enough leaders. And I think they really missed Kieran Reid because as a number 8, very good player. They've just lost players in key positions who could steady the ship. And I just think that was part of it. And if you watch the game, all Argentina did was get in their face and tackles. And it's like many World Cups, I think 2003 and 2007. If the pressure's on, all they do is hit the ball up. They've lost their way.
Interesting.
And I think there's a lot of pressure, and you actually had some wives commenting about the press. You had players talk about other things, so which normally doesn't happen. So you can see things are starting to brew a bit, and about bloody time, I reckon.
Oh, very interesting.
But it's all in fun, it's all in fun. You've got to talk about the All Blacks. I mean, I played them 29 times. I think I won 9. So that's a good bloody record.
Yeah.
So you can actually... so every now and then you've got to just niggle them a bit, mate. You can't sit back and just watch.
No, that's true. That's true. But you must have felt good with Australia's win over New Zealand.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was a good win, but but the problem was the main week before was for the Bledisloe Cup, and we got our asses kicked.
Yeah.
If you want to make a big announcement, that's when they should have won.
Yeah,
not
true.
The week later when the All Blacks have already taken the trophy home and we play. Look, yes, it's a young team. I understand that, but we are Australians. We're a very small country realistically. When you got rugby league, Aussie rules, week in, week out on TV, and I just think that we needed to demonstrate and to show our supporters that we can do it week in, week out. 1 week was really bad. Next week we won. So it's great. But we got to be a bit more consistent now.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the Bledisloe Cup. I mean, when you played for Australia, you won it, I think, twice. Something in that regard.
Yeah.
Do you feel Australia...
No, 86.
Yeah.
92, 94. I think I won it 3 times. So.
Well, there we go. 3 times. Sorry about that. Do you feel that a current Australian squad has the energy to possibly win it next year? Surely they're building up to win that thing. Because, I mean, it's been years since you lost to good home.
Yeah, look, it's still very young, early days. We've got a new coaching team, and we got it's probably very difficult for Dave Rennie to understand us Australians because he's a New Zealander, he's an Islander. They look at things very differently to us. But he's got a very young crew to go. I think the only concern is there's not a lot of experience in that team when the pressure's on. And I think we saw that in a couple of games. We just sort of lost our way a bit, but that's going to come. I just said that Corabetti is going overseas for 3 years to play rugby. So we breed these players and now they're going again. So it's very frustrating. Bought a guy from Rugby League who played in the Rugby League grand final 2 weeks ago. Now he's playing Rugby Union. So he's going to take a while to understand the style of rugby and what the laws of rugby are. So, it's very different from South Africa, New Zealand, where playing for the Springboks and the All Black for a lot of those guys are the ultimate in their sporting career. But we have different options,
Yeah.
So it's going to be a while, but hopefully we can start moving forward.
I want to touch on that a bit later, but I want to talk about a very controversial decision, and that was South Africa not joining the Rugby Championship. I think it's absolutely devastating that South Africa have not joined. Like as we were talking before the show, surely you bring a young squad and you bleed them, let them take a few knocks, get some experience. What just sort of was your thinking, or what do you have in mind as to why South Africa didn't join?
Look, I think it's there's probably a couple of things. It probably could be Russ's ego. I can understand, being the world champions and not playing at all. Argentina haven't played at all this year, and they turned around with the All Blacks.
Yeah.
But it's great for rugby as well. South Africa could have been in the same boats. They've got a lot of experienced players who play over in Europe as well, who've been playing a bit of rugby.
Yeah.
So why you could have mixed the team up and blooded a lot of young guys.
Absolutely.
But again, it's about being the world champions. You've won it 3 times. The All Blacks have won it 3. We've won it 2. England won. So you can say, listen, we're developing all these young guys as well. Would have been a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
And get ready for next year. But again, you're missing out on a lot of funds as well, because obviously they've got to share the money. And South Africa probably needs that. Yes.
Yeah.
Will the Lions tour go ahead next year? Who knows? They're still up in the air. There's a lot of controversy still about will governments allow people to travel. So it would have been a great, probably indicator for the young players coming through in for the box as well. So yeah, I think there's a couple of circumstances there. It would have been great to have them out here because to have rugby play, South Africans would have been glued to the TV.
Absolutely,
that's what you need.
No, for sure, definitely, because it also leads to Super Rugby, and that's the competition's been highly rated here, but obviously moving to Pro 14 or Pro 16 or whatever it may be called. Do you feel Super Rugby will still have that same sort of essence, or what they're going to do to sort of try and make it the same competition in itself?
Yeah, look, I think it's probably better for you guys because of the time zone. And I remember playing in the 80s, and Nas was playing for Pretoria on the Saturday, then he'd fly to Whitley, play on Sunday. Because it's the same time zone. Yeah. So realistic for you guys, it's better to go to Europe because it's overnight. So why not do that? And still, you're still getting the best because your Springbok team will be playing against New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, and Argentina.
Absolutely.
So that's perfect. But also the way I think of things is, after being in South Africa with the Sharks and watching, it very rarely rains in South Africa. So when you see the test matches, you see I'll go back, funny story, go back to 92, the first game back. And obviously, you run out into Newlands and the Signs, you are not the real world champions, you beat South Africa. But the day before, I was in the hotel watching South Africa train, and I think it was it Duplessis? No, Duplessis, the number 9 halfback. Was it Robert Duplessis, the halfback in 92?
I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, Dave.
Oh, mate, come on, you're a South. What's wrong with you?
I was only a small boy. That's it.
Anyway, so what it showed was Nas was at the Oval, and there was a bucket of water, and he was putting the ball in the bucket of water and throwing it to Nas because they thought it was going to rain on the Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Because you guys aren't used to playing wet weather.
Yes.
So now you go to the Northern Hemisphere, you're going to get best of both. You've got the Northern Hemisphere weather and South African weather. So it's actually going to make you guys a lot better players in conditions where you're not used to. So that's, I think, the benefits. And it's a different style of rugby over there. It's not really run. You've got the forwards, so I think it'll really help South African rugby.
No, absolutely. No, it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Very, very good. I know the teachers are quite upset with one or two things, fairly, rightly so, but we won't go into that now. But let's talk a bit about your time with Australia. And I think it's fair to say you guys were world dominant. You were just dominating in every aspect. You won the World Cup, the Bledisloe Cup. What sort of holistically gave Australia that dominance, that world dominance in rugby?
I just think we changed the game. It was about flat back line, passing the ball, guys run into space, and support play.
Yeah.
The forwards won the ball and give it to the backs. It was back, but also the scrum was so easy those days. It was about the World Cup 91. I think the scrum took 11 seconds. The referee had nothing to do with the scrum. The two scrums would come together, they'd collide, the ball would go in and the ball would go out.
Sure.
Now you've got the referee teaching them slow. Mate, you've got 900 kilos in a scrum.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of problems in Australia because of rugby league and Aussie rules, which are very quick games. Yes. And we have our game and you have 5 minutes in the scrum. People just turn the TV off. You know, but rugby league and Aussie rules is actually owned by Australia, so they can change the laws. With rugby, we can't change the laws. You've got to go to the IRB. All these countries involved. Oh, we don't want to change this because it's tradition. But the game needs to be, the scrums are a mess.
Yeah.
The scrums are a mess. And it was interesting. I had a meeting with a rugby league coach on Thursday, and he was saying, he watched the All Black Argentina game. He said, so why do one team score tries and the other team kick goals? That's our game. That's our game. In rugby league, you score tries. You don't really go for a penalty. You score tries. You know? So it was quite interesting. You know, a professional sport has been professional a lot longer than us. So, but that's the mentality they don't understand.
Sure. But so then you were talking about rugby league and Aussie rules. Does it put a lot of pressure on the actual numbers of guys wanting to play rugby? Because Aussie rules is quite attractive. It's well supported. It's a cultural game there. Is rugby union struggling for numbers, Dave, or are they okay with numbers?
Yeah, no, we do struggle. Not really with Aussie rules. Maybe rugby league. There's been a lot of schoolboys who play rugby league, schoolboys for Australia in rugby and league. Myself, I trialled for Australian schoolboys in league when I was playing growing up, not rugby union. Because I didn't go to a private school, I went to a government school.
Right.
So that's the big difference in here. It's the public school in England, I think it is. It's the private school system. But we seem to have lost our way a bit in that aspect as well. And league was a professional sport well before. I think they broke away from rugby union in 1908, I think it was. Because rugby union started, then they went off and made their own sport. So it's been around a long time. But the thing that we have that they haven't got, they can't go to a Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games. We can.
Yeah, well, there we go.
So we have got something that they can't do. Yeah. But we don't promote that.
Right.
You know, so I think that, you know, we've lost our way over the years, many years in our game. Being successful sometimes in 91, 99 actually works against you because you sit there and think, oh, we're the world champions now. Everyone wants to come and play, but they don't.
Sure.
You know, so that's been our big concern. And it's got to be attractive, you know. That movie with Kevin Costner, you know, if you build it, they will come. The baseball movie, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the thing is, if you don't entertain in Australia, people can go and watch something else. True. But in South Africa, you can't turn rugby off and watch something else because there's nothing else to watch.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So that's why, but we've done it before. We've done it before with 91 when we were amateur. So we can do it, but we just need the coaching system to work for us. At the moment, there's no coaching system. You know, we keep on going and get New Zealand coaches. We haven't got our own bred coaches. Like Bob Dwyer for the Wallabies, played club rugby at Randwick, won the premiership at Randwick, and then went to coach the Wallabies. He didn't go coach New South Wales first. So that was very unique back then.
Sure.
So, and he wanted to introduce his style of rugby, which was flat alignment, ball through the hand, support, skill factor. But now the game's changed. We all want to play like everyone else. No one's got unique style. You know, South Africa was the big forwards, the big, you know, up and unders and chase through. New Zealand was the same. The French flair, run the ball from under the goalposts. The Wallabies, you know, were every time we played South Africa, don't take this wrong way, but we knew we were a bit smarter in the back line than compared to South Africa, you know, because of the size of the guys.
Yeah.
Everyone had a unique way of playing.
Absolutely.
Now it's just huge guys and smash it up.
Yeah. Do you think anyone will be able to do the goose step as well as you did, Dave?
Look, there's been a lot of people tried. I should have bloody patented the thing. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, look, people do use it. Mate, good luck to them. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. You know.
That's true. It's true. But Dave, I was actually watching a video of when you played for Australia, and I think at that time, when you guys were at your height of strength, you manipulated space so well, and your ball handling was absolutely brilliant. Do you, like as you're mentioning now, do you feel that sort of has faded away? Is this
mate,
focus on
the spiral pass is dominant now, you know, and I think with the introduction of social media, there's guys on Instagram and they're showing the spiral pass, and every kid does it. I've gone, it doesn't work. And if you watch the game of rugby now, the spiral pass, if you think of the way we played, I could run up to you about probably that far, still catch and pass the ball. Yeah. When you spiral pass, it's about 3 meters back now because you've got to catch it, cock it, and then throw it.
True.
You know, and you cannot do that if you run at somebody. That's why the defence is so good, because as soon as you pass it, everyone drifts. I've always said, you know, watching Mornay Stain when he was playing for the Springboks, he would stand 10 metres behind the scrum, get the ball and shovel it. The All Blacks defence and Wallabies wouldn't even worry about it. They'd just go across and smash the poor winger in the corner because he wasn't threatening anybody.
Sure.
And if you think of the way we played, you could run up to someone really quick, catch and move the ball quickly.
Yeah.
That was the skill. But it wasn't easy. It came over time.
Absolutely.
But everybody in Australia did that. We had a book that the Australian Dick Marks, Arthur McGill and David Clark, who were the coaching directors in my day, everyone in Australia played the same rules, the same laws. Now, we've got New Zealand coaches, we've got a South African coach, we've got coaches here, we've got coaches there. It's all different, you know?
Yes.
And instead of trying to come off one page, and that's why I think that we are in this predicament, because we got players, we bring guys now. We got a guy who played rugby league grand final 2 weeks ago. He's coming to rugby union, who played rugby years ago. So it's a different mindset, you know, and it's very difficult to understand what is Australian rugby, what is our culture, how do we play the game? No one seems to know, because we don't look at history as the All Blacks do. The All Blacks' tradition, their culture, their history is why they're the best. South African rugby is very similar. In Australia, we don't know where we've come from.
Sure. That's interesting to hear, Dave.
It's very sad that every time they go out, you know, it's about, this could be your last game you ever play for Australia.
Wow.
You know? So that's the thing that I think that what I've noticed is one of our biggest problems.
That's wow. It's interesting to hear it from your perspective, Dave. Thank you. Thanks for that. But Dave, you were really busy in your career. You also played sevens rugby. You played over 100 tests for Australia. I think you also scored the most tries ever. And until recently, Brian Habana broke the record.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
No, really, David. If you look through your career, it's actually phenomenal what you've achieved. It really is amazing.
But I had a lot of fun.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I went to Italy in '84 for 10 years playing rugby. So I played the whole year round. I came to Durban in 1985 on a sevens tournament. I played for the South African Barbarians.
Sure.
As well. You didn't know that.
Sure.
Played for the French Barbarians, South American Barbarians, the British Barbarians, Australian Barbarians. So, mate, I've been to Bermuda. Mate, if there's a rugby game somewhere, I would be going.
Brilliant.
It's the only way to see the world.
Yeah, true. Dave, but of all those you've mentioned so many, there must have been one where you thought, wow, this is just a game or a tournament I'm never, ever going to forget, or just made you feel like your career has really culminated to what it is? Was there a moment or a match where you could look back and say, wow?
Yeah, look, I think the Sevens in Hong Kong, I think
Okay.
the Sevens in Hong Kong, that's where they should hold the World Cup every year, well, when it's on, because that was the only tournament. And we used to be test players. We'd rock up on a Wednesday night. The guys would go and have a few beers. Thursday, you train for an hour. Friday, now you go shopping for the rest of the day. You play Saturday, you play Sunday. Monday, you go shopping, you go home. That was it. That was the tournament. That was when fun. But also, you would be playing France, and there'd be Serge Blanco, there'd be Denis Charvet, there'd be Jean-Baptiste Lafont. You'd be playing England. You'd have all the English players. You'd be playing Scotland. In those days, it was the Irish Wolfhounds. The Barbarians would put a team in. And then you'd be playing against Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Korea. Now it's basically the big boys.
Yes.
And, and it doesn't it just changes the whole game, and these poor Asian countries struggle to get into that tournament because they're not big enough or they don't get the competition. So that was great. A couple of tournaments. One was probably the Commonwealth Games in '98, obviously the first Commonwealth Games, and being captain for Australia was fantastic and winning a bronze medal. But we did go to a tournament in Israel back in '98 after the French tournament we won. Mate, to go to Israel, we went to the Wailing Wall, went to the church where Jesus was taken down on the rock. It's in the church. There's 4 different religions. Going to Bethlehem, seeing where Jesus was born. Mate, the olive field where he walked down through. That's, to me, my background as a government school, didn't finish school, go into these places, go into Rome to see the Colosseum, you go to see Shakespeare House in England. What else can you ask for in rugby? That's your education. You don't need to go to school. Go to these rugby tours. Been to Buckingham Palace twice, meeting people. Mate, travelling to South Africa. Never thought I married Lara, a Zimbabwean lady. Met her in South Africa. So that is rugby. Rugby, you cannot give another sport like that.
Well, like I said, it's very, very honoured to have chatted to you, Dave, because you talk about those experiences. Wow, what a laugh. Absolutely brilliant.
Great.
That's great. Dave, but I believe you're also giving back. Have you got an academy? How's it going?
Yeah.
Going well?
Yeah, mate. I came back to Australia in 2018 and I wanted to get involved. It's very, very difficult because of, people just remember you as probably a whinger. You complain a lot, and I was outspoken. Society's changed now. Society is, you can't say boo to a goose, really. You can't, if you even mention Trumpy now, you're in trouble, where around the world. It's just bizarre.
It is,
I was brought up in an era. My dad came to Australia when he was very young, worked very hard. I had a brother, 2 younger sisters. And, mate, I went to a government school. We played all the sport possible. I never thought I'd end up where I was. It just happened, by chance. And you got to make the most of it. So now it's one of those things in life where you've just got to enjoy the rides. Yeah. And watching and playing, against the All Blacks when I had no idea who the All Blacks were. You find out very quickly. And that's what life's about. So I've been very fortunate. I had a great career. And, mate, I'm trying to pass my knowledge on because, you don't go to university and be taught by a professor who's 25.
True.
That's why you go to school. Yeah. You go to university because someone's got knowledge. We have knowledge, but in rugby, it hasn't been passed on. And you can see, by a lot of the work rate of some of the wingers when I watch, their work rate off the ball is nothing like what they should be. But probably because they've never had the experience or someone tell them, mate, you're not there just to score tries. There's a lot more work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to do. And that's where I think that we've probably let ourselves down a bit is the knowledge that we've had in this country, the guys who have won World Cups. We've got guys who won 2 World Cups. Phil Kearns, all those guys, Tim Horan, Jason Little, John Eales, to pass on their knowledge, but it's never been passed on.
Yeah, it's quite something, and it's so important. Like you said, even at a school level, and that's the one thing that's nice to see in South Africa. Once in a while, you'll get former Springbok who'll go to a school and just get the rugby vibe going, and that it does wonders for the children. It really. So Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's so important to pass the skills on. It really, really is. Because it's actually, like I mentioned earlier, watching videos of you play, it's fantastic. It actually gives you a bit of goosebumps. Like, wow, that's exciting stuff. That's brilliant. But I think
if you have a look, it was all about back play. It was all about deception.
yeah,
It's all about everyone had a role in the back line. It doesn't, just because you scored the try doesn't mean I scored the try. If the guys don't do their job, and there was a lot of decoys. So we used to have decoy runners, but the ball would always go in front of the player. Now they've got rugby league decoy runners where the ball goes behind. So that's shepherding in our day.
yeah.
In 84 Grand Slam, we had a move where 10 will pass to 12. 12 would give it back to 10. He would throw the ball behind the 13 to the fullback. And in 1984 Grand Slam, we got penalised for obstruction. Now you've got decoy runners all the time, and it's okay.
Wow.
So it just showed you the way the game's changed, you know.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
But that's the development of sport, you know.
You've
got to find, but again, it depends who changes the laws and why they change the law. You know, and a lot of the people they don't understand the law. That's why they get so frustrated, you know.
Oh, my word. But Dave, do you also do a bit of corporate speaking? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I do a lot of speaking. It's the speaking, the coaching. My brand, for some unknown reason, is probably better known overseas than Australia. It's very, very difficult to get work here. Australians aren't into that sort of speaking where you've achieved something and all that. Overseas they are, because you've got a story to tell.
Yes.
My background coming through the system when I shouldn't have been in that situation. But yeah, like, you know, as I said, like you get to learn a lot. You get to speak to a lot of people. Sport and business is exactly the same. Everyone in the rugby team's got a role. If they don't do their role, you're not going to be successful.
True.
In business is the same. So I do a lot of coaching with kids and coaches, because the coaches are the ones who coach the kids. And if they don't do their role, well, obviously the kids don't learn. So
100%. 100%. And Dave, as we draw to a close, are you sort of hoping to put together a British and Irish Lions tour? We might see you back in South Africa next year.
Yeah, I've got a tour going. We've got some trying to get 14, 15 people from Australia, because a lot of Australians haven't really seen. I was going to come over, was this year to do Australia versus South Africa. Then the week after, it's normally New Zealand, South Africa.
Yes.
So a lot of Australians haven't seen test matches in 7 days. You've got three of the best teams in the world playing.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the whole idea, but it was called off. So next year, the Lions. So hopefully, we'll be over there in Cape Town for the second, third test. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know it'll be a great spectacle. Great to see. Really, really good.
Definitely.
Dave, like I said before, it's been an absolute honor to chat to you. Really appreciate your time. And then just talk about your career and what you've achieved. Yep. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Mate, you're welcome. Thanks for your time, and good luck to all the people in South. I have a lot of friends there as well, and especially the Nas and Rob Lowe and Brayton Poles. Who else is there? You are. Geez, all the old guys, mate. They're all the guys that I was around in those days. So, yeah, hello to everybody, and mate, stay safe, eh?
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, mate.
Cool. See you then.
Take it easy. Bye.